I reckon it will be, yes.
Sponsorship.
Everyone's an advertising. Raise some money. Good luck for Gary.
He's panicking on it.
Start this nice start. Thanks, councillors. The council acknowledges and pays respect to the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional owners and custodians of this land on which we live. May the words of our lips and the meditations of our hearts be always acceptable in thy sight, O Lord. Welcome, everybody. We have two apologies tonight, an apology from Councillor Dick Rose and one from Councillor Overton. So we'll move straight on to 1.1, the confirmation of the minutes. Can I have somebody move that they be confirmed, please? Thanks, Councillor Hiscott, second Councillor Viney. Any queries on those minutes? Not. Motion, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 2.1 is council workshops. There's 3 there. Can I have somebody move that that report be received?
So
Thanks,
moved.
Councillor Beswick, second Councillor Viney. Any queries on those workshops? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 3.1 is Mayor's communications, and I do have some communications because I would like to acknowledge the Council's recent success in being awarded as the Tasmanian winner for the 2020 AFL Ken Gannett Community Football Facilities Award. The Ken Gannon. So the awards recognise best practice in community football facility development across Australia. And for the council, this award recognises the redevelopment of the Alveston Recreation Ground. It's an honour to see the work recognised by the Ken Gannon State Facility Award, and a big congratulations to all involved, with an acknowledgement and thank you to the state and federal governments and AFL Tasmania for co-funding this successful redevelopment. Project success was the result of a collaborative team-focused approach between council and all parties. It's quite an honour, I think, to get that award. We had the AFL, the national AFL person in charge of facilities came and presented that and talked about how good it was to actually, it was a joint project, I suppose, but they were able to get so much more value out of the project because they changed things around and made things fit, and the football club did a little bit of extra work, so it was a really good project. I lost the whole thing now, though. Sorry, my computer's just decided to shut down. Uh, 3.2 is the Mayor's diary. There's a list of things there. I'll have somebody move that report be received, please. Thanks. So moved. Seconder, please. Councillor Beswick. Any queries on any of those things in the diary? Put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 3.3 is declarations of interest. Any councillors wishing to declare an interest? No. 4.1 are councillor reports. Anybody wishing to make a report? Thanks, Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of items there. I was pleased to attend the annual general meeting of the Rihanna Community Centre Management Committee on the 31st of March. And for a small group of people, they manage an amazing facility and work closely with the users of that facility. The incoming president for the community centre is Annette Langham, and she will also manage to juggle the role of both that and secretary, but at least she won't have the trouble of emailing herself the correspondence, I suppose, it's that advantage. And other members have taken up the other roles, and they'll be pleased to welcome council for an afternoon tea when we visit there on our budget trip around the community. So it'll give councillors a chance to have a look at the facility and the intended improvements there. The other thing that I just wanted to mention was the celebration on Saturday night of 50 years of the Penguin Leo Club, the oldest Leo club in the country, and 50 continuous years for a youth organisation is no mean feat. And it was great to have about, I think there were 5 of the original charter members were at the dinner on Saturday night. Probably 60 odd people joined in the celebration at the Penguin Sports Centre. So yeah, it was a good event. That's the line.
So I'd just like to report that the Ulverston Community Shed is celebrating their 10th year, and they will be having a function on the 30th of April to celebrate that event. Obviously, the council had a big part of that process, a very big part, and they were official invitations, etc. They're going out.
Thank you, Mayor. I was fortunate enough to attend the Slipstream AGM during the last month. Just wanted to acknowledge Meg Arvia being re-elected as president for that organisation and welcome the incoming committee. There are a few changes there, but it looks like they're all straight ahead, all focused on the future to come. So, acknowledgement. Thank you.
Reports. 5.1 is leave of absence. There are no applications for consideration. 6.1 are deputations. There are none. 7.1 are petitions, which there are none. 8.1 is councillor questions without notice. Councillor Van
No, man.
Councillor Biswick.
No, Mayor.
Councillor Ryan.
No, Mayor.
Councillor Fuller.
Thank you, Mayor. 1 for the General Manager and 2 for the General Manager enclosed, if I may.
Councillor Biscuit.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carter.
No, thanks, Mayor.
None for myself. Uh, 8.2 is councillor questions on notice, and no questions have been received. 9.1 is public question time. We've received 11 submissions for public question time. I want to do those at 6:40 or closest as soon as we can. And 9.2 is public questions taken on notice. There was one question from the March meeting, and the response is printed there. Retro. I have somebody move that question be received.
So moved.
Councillor Beswick, second please, Councillor Hiscott. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.1 is the Leith Overpass Gas Highway. Councillor Fuller, considering that we've now received confirmation that nothing will happen in while we're in the election mode, did you want to continue?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm happy to withdraw the notice of motion, but would ask that I'm able to make a short statement in relation to the motion. The notice of motion, as councillors are aware, was quite specific in its request for action. So as you said, now that as of 4:30 this afternoon, we've received confirmation from GHC via the General Manager that the activity will cease while the government is in caretaker mode. It would be deemed that there would be no point in writing a letter that was that specific. Obviously, by the time we received that advice, it was too late to table another motion that might have differed. The notice of motion always was intended to assure the people of Leith that council were listening to their concerns and were sympathetic to their frustration about the poor consultation process that has been undertaken, and recognising that the stress and anxiety is causing for them. So that being the case, and I know from our conversations, and many of the councillors have had phone conversations and meeting with residents, I'm satisfied that the residents realise that we have heard their concerns, and we look forward to an inclusive and thorough exploration of all options that might resolve the safety issues of those intersections, and we will be encouraging everybody to participate in those consultation processes when they recommence. Let's hope for a more inclusive and less confrontational outcome for all.
Move on to 10.2, the minutes and notes of committees of council and other organisations. There's a couple there. Can I have somebody move that those minutes be received? Councillor Viney, second please. Councillor Fuller, any queries on those minutes?
Mayor, I'd just like to make one comment under the Community and Safety Partnership minutes that were there that was talked about scooters, skateboards and cyclists on the shared pathway. We do use the pathway ourselves, and the motorised skateboards and scooters are becoming an issue, and other people have raised it with me as well. They sneak up behind you, they don't have any bells to be able to let anybody know, so I'll be interested to see how that may get dealt with. It might be something that there's an education campaign through the council's Facebook pages and or through our newsletters and so forth, just what everybody's responsibility is to other users on the footpath. But it was just interesting to read that in a minute.
Any other queries? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. 10.3 is the reported performance report, 2020-21 annual plan progress. I'll have somebody move that be received. Councillor Van Ryn, second please. Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Van Ryn, did you want to speak to this?
Well, Mayor, it did strike me when I was reading it that we have a huge annual plan. There's no doubt about that. And in view of the fact that some of the projects are behind schedule, I'm just wondering whether we have allocated far too many projects for the staff that we've got. And maybe it's something that should be looked at, when we set our annual plan next year. Because I'd sooner have lesser projects up to date than projects slipping behind. But anyway, I'll have to move the motion.
That might be something that will be discussed at our workshop when dedicated to the annual plan. Any other speakers? Councillor Biscuit.
Yes, I would add to that comment, and yes, I acknowledge that we will be having a discussion after the meeting, but also I've noted that it should have been allowed for us to be able to have more discussion regarding this before us needing to consider this document, and also just to make that note again that there is we should be reading this as everything green with a few exceptions. That's certainly not reading that way. It has me fairly concerned considering the position that we've taken this year from the previous years with an expectation of us going into this with hopefully less on the plate than we had in previous years. So just want to make sure that's acknowledged and made comment that there are some concerns that we're heading towards, and hopefully we've got 3 more months till the end of the year and we see some major improvements and everything becomes green, but certainly a lot of work to do, and I hope that we're moving in the right direction.
Any other speakers? You want to close, Councillor Van Ryn?
No, ma'am.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.4 is the delegation by council of its powers and functions. The review of delegations issued to the general manager. I have somebody move the suggested resolution.
Yes, I know.
Thanks, Councillor Van Ryn. Second, Carpenter. Councillor Van Ryn, would you like to
Well,
speak?
Mayor, it is important that from time to time we do a review of the functions that we have given the general manager authority to handle. And no problems with what's being suggested at all. And we go along with it. Thank you.
Any other speakers?
Mayor, I think it's pretty well outlaid there that it's something that's got to be done, and it's being done again at this time. And you could say it's a certain way of reducing red tape on a lot of issues that the general manager acts on our behalf. And at no stage should anybody feel threatened that the GM can go and do things that council doesn't want her to do, or he or she that we want them to do. So, and the few changes are pretty minor compared to last time there, so no problem.
Any other speakers? I'm going to close, Councillor Van Ryn.
No, ma'am.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.5 is correspondence addressed to mayor and councillors. There's a schedule there. Can I have somebody move that be received?
So moved.
Councillor Beswick, second
Second.
Councillor Carpenter. Any queries on that schedule? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Motion is carried. I didn't need to say that there was an amended schedule, wasn't there? That was, that we hadn't. 10.6 is the common seal. You have a schedule there. Can I have somebody move that be received? Thanks, Councillor Lyman. Seconded, please. Councillor Beswick. Any queries on common seal? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.7 is contracts and agreements, and I think we have an updated schedule there. Can I have somebody move that?
So moved.
Thanks, Councillor Beswick. Second, please. Councillor Lyman. Any queries? Councillor Beswick.
Just like to make a comment that I'm excited to see that the contract's been signed for the shared pathway to Leith. Can't wait to be able to get on the bike and go for a ride all the way out there. So it'll be, I'm not sure what the schedule is as far as the timing goes, but let's hope it'll be open and perhaps ask questions on there. Ask a question of the
You can ask a
infrastructure.
question.
Yeah.
Yes.
Perhaps the infrastructure director may be able to give us an indication of when the time frame may be to finish.
I'm starting with
Yeah, we're starting.
I would suggest, if I answer, is that we're negotiating the starting time still with the contractors, but we hope to have that, Paul hopes to have that done very soon.
Plus winter.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus the winter being, yeah.
Thanks for that, Jim. Anyway, I'm excited. Let's hope we can have it up and going sort of by, perhaps the late spring, early summer. And everybody look forward to that. But it's great to see that.
Other speakers?
Yeah, I think we.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
Apologies.
Sorry, just on the amended schedule, I noticed this service agreement. I just wonder if you could explain the Magic Q software agreement, just so I can understand what that.
That's, Magic's is our record management system.
So are we already using them? This is just an
Yeah,
extension?
so just another year of the agreement.
No, right,
Extended,
thank you.
yeah.
No, I wasn't sure if that was a new company
No.
or not. I hadn't noticed it last year, obviously, when I went through, so thank you.
No.
Councillor Carpenter.
No, Mayor, I withdraw my question.
Okay. Queries? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.8 is the Central Coast Cycling Strategy. Can I have somebody move be
Perhaps as our main cyclist in the community, you might like to move that then.
well, I'd have to change seats.
Oh, all right, I'll move that.
Thanks, Councillor Beswick. A second, please, Councillor Collins. Councillor Beswick, would you like to speak to this?
As a cyclist, not as much as you there. Cycling is something that gets people out into the community. The cycle paths, like we mentioned before, as far as the Leaf to Turners Beach shared pathway, and the areas at Penguin's now being done, and we've got Soft Creek to Penguin. The more and more that we can get people off our roads, doing exercise is good for their health and well-being, and it keeps cars out of the car parks and all those sort of things as well. So I support the cycling strategy, which is working towards improvements to all areas over the next few years.
Yeah, a couple of comments that support the motion. It's a little bit concerning to see how outdated some of the national and state policies are, and that perhaps we should, in our position, if we get any chance to speak with any representatives, put forward to them that this is probably something that needs to be looked at, because it is certainly, as Councillor Beswick alluded to, important for the health and well-being of the community in general to have that. And also just to comment the excitement, I think, towards the other linked part of this, which is the pathways plan, to build on the already established linkages, to see where that progresses now that this has been informing that document, and that we get the right consultation in that pathways plan, to make sure that that's a robust future-proofing document for the community.
Any other speakers?
Well, as the second most enthusiastic bike rider in the municipality, I just report that I did take the trip from Ambleside to Bells Parade on Sunday and return, and it certainly is a magnificent piece of work, and it's a good job. So, if you happen to be talking to anyone from the Trove, congratulate them on what they've achieved.
Councillor Carpenter.
Thanks, Mayor. Unfortunately, I was away when you had this workshop on. I'm just sort of looking at what the statements: investment in cycling, education, information and infrastructure. And hopefully this does come true. And I'm just wondering, the infrastructure part is in our budget going forward, whether council is prepared to start budgeting for bike racks in and around our areas, especially in the CBD and along certain parts and places like the Wharf Precinct, or might be the High Precinct, which is a bit late now. Stand to be corrected, but I don't think we've budgeted for any next year. Not that we've, sorry, I'll retract that. We haven't done the budget and estimates for next year, but I think when you look at that statement there, that's one of the easiest and probably one of the quickest things that we can do and commit to the strategy for starting with, because we do lack bicycle racks or bicycle storage points somewhere within our, especially in the CBD. So we'd like to make sure that's remembered that the budget listens.
I, like many of you around the table, are very excited about this strategy. But like you, Councillor Carpenter, I think it's those priorities that we have to make sure that we turn into actions, and we have to look in our annual plan and our budget to make sure that some of this work happens, and we're not sitting here next year and we still haven't done very much on our cycle strategy. I think that we do need to really get in and get some of this done. I think the strategy is good, and I look forward to getting some of those things ticked off. Councillor Beswick, would you like to close?
There's probably not much more to say there. One thing, I suppose, as far as Councillor Carpenter was saying, as far as places to be able to lock your bikes up and so forth, I look forward to the redevelopment of the North Raby Street car park, which we hopefully will be able to facilitate some of those. My suggestion all the time along has been that we should have the cycle racks at the front of the stores, not at the back of the car park. Because then you know will encourage people to use their bikes to come to the supermarkets, and you keep a couple of spaces of cars for the disabled access. Yeah, that'll just encourage people more and more. So I believe that development is going to be happening in the next year or two. So look forward to that becoming an improvement in that space.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. 10.9 is council acting as a planning authority. Can I have somebody move that that report be received? Thanks, Councillor Fuller. Second, please, Councillor Beswick. Motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. So on to 10.10, which is the section 35F report on the representations to substantially modified part of the central coast draft and provisions schedule. We're going to split this up to, because we've got two items, one on Westella Drive and the other one is at 172 Main Street. We're going to split the items, so we're going to have a look at the representations in relation to Westella Drive. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder and a motion on that one, and then go on to the one at 172 Main Street, and then we'll come back to the whole thing and endorse the annexure and the whole thing with those two once we've decided, made a decision on that. All right, so we'll start with Westella Drive, Turner's Beach, that item, and could I have somebody move either of the suggested resolutions there?
I would like to move that the draft LPS should not be substantially modified, and that the land at Westella Drive, Turner's Beach, identified as number such and such, be zoned rural.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Thanks, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Banner, would you like to speak to this?
Well, Mayor, I agree with most of the people that have written in and have made representation regarding this matter. I believe that Turner's Beach now substantially is a residential area, particularly on that side of the highway. It certainly is, developing very quickly into a suburb. And I don't believe that zoning this rural fits in with the overall pattern, if you like, of the development in that area. Now, admittedly, if it is zoned rural, there are some enterprises that would still be allowed in that area. But if we were to go along and zone it commercial, then we would lose control over what happens in that area, on that piece of land. It's a fairly big area. Sooner or later, we will probably get an application for subdivision. Well, because this rezoning, well, it wasn't really an application, I guess, but because this rezoning proposal has not come with a development application, we lose control very quickly over what goes on there. And I don't believe that what is proposed is compatible with the area.
Not looking at any proposal, Councillor Banner. Actually just looking at
we all know what it is, and so look, I'm happy to move that just be zoned rural and left as is.
Thanks, Mayor. Yes, I support leaving it as rural or putting it back as rural, whatever we like to call it, because you look at Turner's Beach now and you look at the plan over Turner's Beach and the way it's grown, it is one of our next big economic revenue earners as far as council go, with the growth out there for the medium house price and for young people to start. If you look at the areas sort of south of the highway and south of Westella Drive, huge potential over the next years or whatever for growth in residential area. And it'd be, and I take the representation on both hangers, the one that came in late today, that even leaving it as rural, other things can still be good out there. But I think we've got a little bit more control overall on what we have if it was commercial. And I'd hate to see down the track somewhere that could be a shopping centre or some little shops or whatever good out there in the future if we rezoned it now or let it go through as commercial and lose that control. So I think it's the best place to let it go to is the 2PC and see what they come up with. But Turners Beach, both north and south of the highway, are definitely growing, and they're going to become one of the beautiful parts of Tasmania to live. And our whole plan should be to enhance that livability of that area. And I just wouldn't like to see anything built there in front of them places. It's a beautiful spot to drive into.
Thank you. Councillor Besley.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll be supporting the motion. As I did speak against putting it to commercial when we originally discussed this at a workshop a couple of years ago. This is a growth area, as Councillor Carpenter has said. There's some areas there that we've discussed recently as far as in our residential land strategy that will be probably other land subdivided there in the not too distant future, as of a need. And it is, as has been said, a lovely area for people to come into. I suppose things like this come up because as a council over the years, and I'm only a short-term councillor, there hasn't been any forward planning to have some commercial areas, and it's something that I'd encourage us to look at as a priority over the next short term, because if we've got people that need commercial land, whatever sort of development on, that we need to have somewhere for people to go to. I'll definitely be supporting this motion.
Any other speakers?
I found this a fairly difficult one concerning the planning authority's original position. I think there was two questions that they answered. One is, do we need more commercial zone? And the answer is a solid yes. The second question is this the right place for it? And that's where I sort of had a lot of doing and throwing in my mind. I think that the problem we have and why I have so much doing and throwing in my mind is that we don't have the evidence to support it anyway. I think that due to that, that the recommendation put forward by Councillor Van Ruin probably the appropriate one at the time. I'd like to think that this, I understand that this doesn't preclude this from potentially being rezoned into the future, but if the evidence put forward into the future presents that as a good place for commercial, I'd like to think that work as per Councillor Best is done, and then we'll know, or we will have a much better understanding as to whether this should or shouldn't be done into the future, and that'll be the next step to make that determination there.
Thank you, Mayor. Like Councillor Hiskett, I've been doing lots of toing and froing as one of the supporters of the initial zoning for the commercial, to zone a commercial in the last instance when we discussed it. And I recognise that the arguments on both different sides of representation. We do have a shortage of commercial land, and I suppose that that was perhaps part of the reason we were keen to see it zoned that way. In particular, the Turners Beach local area plan has helped me reconsider my position. I will be supporting Councillor Van Ruin's motion for it to remain rural, because in the absence of a development application, there is no certainty about what that might look like, or how any future commercial developments might impact on that area. And we've recently approved numerous subdivisions out there. It is a large and growing area. Just over the last couple of years, it's seen an explosion in people that are choosing it as their residence. So it has caused me to reconsider that, and I'll be supporting the motion that it be zoned rural.
I'll also be supporting the motion, because I can see that if we went the other way, we'd actually be supporting commercial. We don't know what is going up there. It could be anything, and I think this area needs to be treated a little bit differently, and that more carefully because it's right opposite the residential area. So therefore, at this stage, it'd be best if it's left to be zoned rural, or we recommend that it be left to be zoned rural.
I have to say I would support the motion as well. And I understand that there is a big shortage of commercial land, but I think I would rather be dealing with a development application and a rezoning where at least I could see what the proposed was, and then you can judge the impact that it's going to have on, on the residents around. And I think at the moment I can't imagine that impact, and I think further on down the track, perhaps another application might come in. But for now, I think I'm happy to leave it remained as rural. Councillor Van Roen, would you like to close?
No, ma'am.
Right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? The motion is carried. We'll go on to 172 Main Street, Alveston. Councillor, you're going to move.
Yeah, I'll just say what I think is the correct wording, and then Jen will correct me if I don't have that correct. So my motion is that the draft regarding 172 Main Road, Alveston, that the draft LPSB would be still substantially modified. Not be. Anyway, and that the portion of the land identified at 172 Main Street, Alveston, be zoned rural living B.
Rural living B. Is there a seconder for that motion?
Second.
Councillor Hiscock, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so we originally had this property in the draft LPS as rural living B, supported by the town planner. It was also then supported by the planning authority through the section 35F report that we produced. I understand the representation at the time from State Growth, but we also are here to consider the representation regarding this matter in relation to its by Trevor McKenna, the representative. I believe that the rural living B zone is a more appropriate zone, understanding that both rural and rural living B both will probably, or more than likely, be discretionary anyway, due to the nature of the close by agricultural and utility zones. But it does, the rural living B is a more appropriate zoning for that area due to its ability to be built on in there. I'm wording that poorly. The rural zone does include items, and I don't think it's appropriate for that zone.
Thank you. Other speakers?
I'm sorry. I believe that this proposal to zone it to rural living B makes common sense. Anyone that's had any sort of experience in farming would know that when you've got an isolated 5.5 acre block with a road right around it, you're very restricted with what you can do in that block. Any cattle that have to go into there have to be trucked in. You can't, this is not a bias, you can't chase them over the highway. And so I can understand why the owner of this land wants to sell it off. So far as we've only really got one objector, and that is State Growth. They're the only ones that have objected. But the distance, if the house was to go in that block right in the middle, the distance from that house to the highway would be greater than the distance from a subdivision that we have approved and that has been approved of Parsons Street. Just in the last, the houses there are closer to the highway than this, the house would be right in the middle of this block. To me, it makes common sense. If a person is living there and you just had a ramp where you can get in and out of the property, but when you've got to start using a truck to truck in 2 or 3 cattle. And that's just, it's just not efficient. And so I believe it makes common sense to be rezoned. I'm just going from memory, but I believe that in my down time we dealt with this before. And I think at that time it was the feeling of the council that it should be rural living or rural living B, whatever the case was, I can't remember. But it was knocked out by the Planning Commission. Now, I hope that they can see our point of view and the owner's point of view as far as this land is concerned. And well, I'm looking forward to a house being built on it and people that like to have a bit around the house enjoying it. And so we just
Sorry.
Oh,
Mayor, I'm happy to support the motion put forward by Councillor Hiskett, and again, I think it's a block. It's become about by circumstances, and we could say yes, we allow somebody to build a house there, and might be the proponent or whatever. I can't see in my lifetime or quite a few decades of the highway getting any wider or any reason why State Road would wish not to allow it to happen. I think there's plenty of room for it to happen. He does come out on Council Road. So I just cannot understand State Growth want to sort of stop this from happening in the hindsight or in the vision that they might put an 8-lane freeway through that area. I just don't think that's going to happen for a long, long time. So to leave the block there in isolation on its own, to me, is ridiculous. If you read through the report, supposedly it was zoned residentially made on and then got changed over time, when probably people didn't realise the damage of changing zones back 15, 20 years ago, what it does today. So it could have had an opportunity in 09 to build a house on it and thought, well, I've still got it there for every day. But things change and we move forward, and it's our role to help people move forward again, or to set a strategy for people to be able to do something. And that's what rezoning, and we suggested right back from start one, when all this went through. We suggested then it be rural living B, and I see no reason why we should back down from that decision. I've seen no evidence to back away from it to what we first originally suggested.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll also be supporting Councillor Hiskett's motion. Just for a question of clarity there, on in the agenda on page 43, the property is referred to as 172 Main Road and also referred to as 172 Main Street. Is that correct, or is that an error?
No, it should be 172 Main Street.
Thank you.
Main Road is the road in Kenton.
Yes, yes, so that'll be corrected in due course.
Yes.
As I've said to the owner when I spoke to him today, I suppose State Growth is a stakeholder. State Growth has to look after the road network for the whole state. I think I've talked enough about State Growth in the last couple of weeks. So their point of view is for consideration and advice as the professionals that they are, but we are the ones that get to have the local flavour. And I think it's over 10 years ago since I first had this conversation with Mr. McKenna. It seems to have taken us a long time to be able to assist him to facilitate what would be an absolutely fabulous block on which to live and watch the sun come up every day in Central Coast. So thank you, Councillor Hiskett, for that motion, and I'll be pleased to support it.
Councillor Barney.
Yes, I too will be supporting the motion. I feel that it's a rather odd piece of land that should be zoned agricultural because of exactly its position with being circled with asphalt. But hopefully wise heads will prevail and they'll look at it and say, well, perhaps it isn't fully an agricultural property, but may be useful for building purposes.
Any other speakers? Councillor Beswick.
Yes, Mayor, I'll be supporting the motion of Councillor Hiskett's as well. As Councillor Van Ryn said, this is a small piece of land. The proponent, I believe, lives just on the other side of the road. It's only that his property's been split up because of the highway quite a few years ago. in the end, I can see that there may be some more residential or rural living development along Castor Road, because up on the hill just adjacent to there, there's already acreage blocks up there. There's a house already just down near the edge of the other off-ramp there. So I think it fits in. I think state growth sometimes, go beyond what I call their brief, to be able to say that they shouldn't be allowed to use this as a rural living B block. So I'll be supporting the motion.
Thank you. I have to concur with everything that's said. Councillor Hiscock, would you like to
Yes, just to say that Councillor Van Ron put it much more eloquently than I could, that it is a common sense approach. That will be excellent. Thank you.
All right, I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. All right, now we're going to go back to 1 and 2, so the whole thing. So we're going to endorse the annexure, which reflects the 2 motions that we've just passed. And authorise the General Manager to represent the Planning Authority at hearings for the GPC. So can I have somebody move? Thanks, Councillor Carpenter. Second, Councillor Beasley. Need to speak? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. Thank you. Now, public question time, which we're a little late, but I wanted to just finish that one. We've received 11 questions, and I'll ask the General Manager would she read those questions out, and she has prepared answers to those questions.
Thank you, Mayor. We have received 11 emails, and there's a number of questions within each email. So I will go through them all and provide the responses as well. The first one is from Mark and Claire Glias, 15 Tasmania Street, Leith. And the first question is, does the council support the government's proposed overpass at Leith? The council has, the response is the council has supported safety improvements in relation to both Bass Highway intersections at Leith since at least 2013. The council urged the state government and Department of State Growth to consider a safer method of entry and exit to these 2 areas, undertake a redesign and to include it in their works program for construction. After the first consultation was undertaken by the Department of State Growth and the community, the department met with councillors confidentially in early 2018 to provide 3 possible design options for an overpass, of which the council believed that the option from Leith Road appeared to have the least impact on residents and their amenity. The second question is, when was the council advised by State Growth that the proposed overpass at Leith, and why were we kept in the dark? The response is that the council were provided with confidential design options for an overpass, which the Department of State Growth were then going back out to the community to consult on. This is not a council construction project, and the Department of State Growth is the lead agency. The next question is, why were Leith residents not included in the consultation process? The Bass Highway, and the response is the Bass Highway is a state government responsibility, and the Department of State Growth has full responsibility for the consultation process with the community. Leith residents have had the option of being involved in consultation forums to date, and also a letter from the Department of State Growth to residents in the Leith area was provided in 2018. The department has advised that there is still further consultation to take place, but this will now not commence until after the state election on 1 May 2021. Next question is, Are you concerned about the potential social and environmental impacts of the proposed overpass project? The response is that the council will consider social and environmental impacts of the proposed overpass and will address any concerns of the broader community consultation process. The next question is, why is the Central Coast Council silently proposing to raise the speed and weight limits of Leith Road? The response is that the council has not discussed any aspect of either the speed or load limit of Leith Road since the current limits were implemented, and the speed limit changed from open speed limit to 80 kilometres an hour in 2008, and further, the northern end of Leith resulted from 80 kilometres an hour to 60 kilometres an hour in 2010. The load limit was implemented prior to 2008. The next question is, why dismiss other options to make the intersection safer without loss of property? The response is that the council understands the Department of State Growth are still considering the options for the Bass Highway intersection and have indicated that no decision has been made on the overpass, or in fact whether an overpass will be constructed until further consultation with the community has been completed. The next question is, the proposal is making us sick with worry. How can you help us have our voices heard? We don't want our community damaged. It is precious. The response is the council has supported the consultation process with the committee and have been reassured that further consultation is to be undertaken. The last question is the proposed intersection upgrade at Leith about improving safety for all. It started out of concern for school children's safety. If so, would Central Coast Council seek to increase the speed limit on Leith Road from 60 to 80 kilometres an hour, considering the children's safety getting on and off school buses and walking and riding in their neighbourhood? It doesn't add up. The response is that the council has not discussed raising the speed or load limits of Leith Road since the current limits were implemented. The next email was from Jamie Smith of 20 Orport Street, West Leith. His first question is, why has the council not included or invited the residents of Leith from any meetings, correspondence, information on the state roads referred overpass option at Leith? The response is that as the Bass Highway is a state government responsibility, the Department of State Growth is responsible for the consultation with the community on this project. His other question was also, does the council support their option for an overpass or support its own local community at Leith with finding an acceptable solution for all concerned without forcefully acquiring residents' homes and making others unlivable? The response is that the council will support a solution that makes the intersection safe and will look at the option presented and community feedback and options before providing its response to the Department of State Growth as part of the consultation process. The next email we received was from Sally Young of 2 Davis Street, Leith. Sally has 2 questions. So the first one is, I wish to respectfully submit 2 questions on notice for the meeting. Given the history of lack of Central Coast contact and consultation with the community of Leith in regard to the Leith Overpass project, what processes will the council now commit to implementing to ensure ongoing, transparent and full disclosure of any matters brought before council relating to the Leith Overpass project, thereby engaging positively and constructively with the Leith community on this issue. The response is the Department of State Growth is the lead agency and are still in the consultation process with the community. Leith residents have had the option of being involved in consultation forums to date, and also a letter from the Department of State Growth to residents in the Leith area was provided in 2018. As also advised by the Department, there is still further consultation to take place, but this will not be undertaken until after the state election on the 1st of May 2021. The next question was, does any councillor have a conflict of interest, real or perceived, in which they or family members will or may benefit directly or indirectly from the conversion of the residential section of Leith Road into a freight corridor? The response is that Section 48 of the Local Government Act 1993 states that a councillor must not participate at any meeting of a council, council committee, local committee, special committee, controlling authority or joint authority in any discussion nor vote on any matter in respect of which the councillor has an interest or is aware or ought to be aware that a close associate has an interest. At this stage, the General Manager has not been advised of any conflict or potential conflict of interest. The next email was from Karen May of 7 Hull Street, Leith. Is Central Coast Council aware of any business or industry that is proactively supporting the building of an overpass at the Leith Road Bass Highway intersection? The response to that is no. And the second question was, does Central Coast Council intend to increase the speed and load limits for vehicles using Leith Road? As previously stated, the answer is no. An email is received from Rebecca Western. And her first question is, who are the significant parties pushing for the proposed overpass and what evidence supports its necessity? Crash statistics, etc. And the response here is when this question was raised for state government or state cabinet in 2015, the following crash statistics were provided to them at the time, stating there are some 45 recorded accidents at these junctions since 2001, with 9 of them serious, including 2 fatalities. The 4 primary school parents were also particularly concerned for the safety of the children on the school bus at this intersection. The next question is, why are other avenues being dismissed without consideration? For example, trialling a speed reduction of 80 kilometres as per other areas along the Bass Highway. Morris's response is that this is a question to ask the Department of State Growth, as the Bass Highway is under their control, not the council's. Next question is, are there underlying investment interest groups pushing for this proposal, as well as the increase in road load limit on Leith Road? And the response to that is that the council is not aware of any. The next one is how long has the council been aware of this and why was it dumped on homeowners without warning? The response is that the Department of State Growth is the lead agency and are still in the consultation process with the community. Leith residents have had the option or the opportunity of being involved in consultation forums to date, and also a letter from the Department of State Growth to residents in the Leith area was provided in 2018. As also advised by the Department of State Growth, there is still further consultation to take place, but will not be undertaken until after the state election on the 1st of May 2021. The next email with 2 questions on it is from Leo Fay and Adam Berlman of 11 Bridge Street, Leith. Are the council prepared to supply copies of the letters sent to State Road early 2016 expressing their concerns and seeking action related to the Leith intersection? The response is that the council sent a letter on 26th of February 2016 to the CEO of Infrastructure Tasmania in response to a letter seeking submissions to be included in the infrastructure pipeline. One of the 5 projects submitted was the Bass Highway Leith Road intersection. The council can provide a copy of this letter upon request. The council also provided, from a previous question, part of the briefing paper to the Cabinet in 2016. There were no other letters that I'm aware of that were sent in early 2016. Furthermore, this is the next question. Furthermore, is council also prepared to supply all communications for State Road in response to their letters? My response is I'm not aware of any other formal communications from the Department of State Growth in relation to council correspondence. The next email is from Tony and Aki Downey of 2 Russell Street, Leith. Based on the design presented to the council by DH&D, the project managers, on Monday, 1st of February 2021, does the council support the government's proposed overpass at Leith? The response is that the council has supported safety improvements in relation to both Bass Highway intersections at Leith since at least 2013. The council urged the state government and Department of State Growth to consider a safer method of entry and exit to these 2 areas to undertake a design and include it in their works program for construction. After the first consultation was undertaken by the Department of State Growth with the community, the department met with councillors confidentially in early 2018 to provide 3 possible design options for an overpass, of which the council believed that the option from Leith Road appeared to have the least impact on residents and their amenity. The revised option presented to a council workshop upon the condition it was kept confidential in February 2021 is to be utilised by the Department of State Growth to continue with their consultation. The council will support a solution that makes the intersection safe and will look at the options presented and community feedback options before providing a response to the Department of State Growth. The next email is from Leslie Lyons at 111 Leith Street, Leith. On what date or dates in 2016 did the council write to or contact the Department of State Growth regarding concerns about traffic entering or crossing the Bass Highway from Leith Road and Braddon's Lookout Road, as well as Short Street? What did the council communicate to the Department of State Growth, and are these communications available for perusal? The response is the council has supported safety improvements in relation to both Bass Highway intersections at Leith since at least 2013. The council urged the state government and Department of State Growth to consider a safer method of entry and exit to these 2 areas, undertake a redesign and include it in their works program for construction. Again, in 2015, the council presented an election briefing paper to the State Cabinet, which included the Bass Highway intersections at Leith. In regard to the Leith, the brief stated as follows. The council has received growing concerns from the 4th Community Representatives Committee and from members of both the 4th and Leith communities in relation to safety concerns regarding the Bass Highway intersections at Short Street and Leith Road at Leith. These issues have also been previously raised at our Traffic Management and Parking Committee meeting. It was agreed the best course of action was for the Council to make a formal submission to the Department of State Growth for consideration on behalf of these communities. The Fourth primary school parents are particularly concerned for the safety of the children on the school bus at this intersection. School and other bus services enter and exit left via the Short Street intersection with the Bass Highway. The introduction of the public service between Alveston and Devonport has resulted in an increase in bus use. These vehicles are long, have limitations on turning, and are slow to accelerate. When travelling out of Leith to the west, they need to traverse across 2 lanes of highway traffic into a merging lane. For a large vehicle like a bus, it is difficult to make this turn without also interfering with the right-hand lane of westbound highway traffic. The highway traffic speed at this location is 110 kilometres an hour. A similar situation exists for vehicles turning out of Leith Road, travelling east on the highway, and for vehicles turning right off the Bass Highway. There are some 45 recorded accidents at these junctions since 2001. So this was written back in 2015, with 9 of them serious and including 2 fatalities. Some attempts have been made to improve sight distance by removing some of the centre wire road fencing. However, this has had only a limited effect. Your records will also show a number of serious accidents on this section of the highway. The limited sight distance and the right merging lanes appear to be the issues at these junctions, together with geographical location, which is affected at times by sunrise and sunset limiting vision. Preliminary advice from the Department of State Growth suggests improvements of these intersections is not included in your forward works program. So the Council and the Fourth Community Representatives Committee urge Department of State Growth to consider a safer method of entry and exit to these 2 areas, undertaking a redesign and including in their forward works program for construction. While the Council notes that the best solution may be costly and needs planning and design work undertaken, we strongly believe that consideration should be given to an immediate interim solution until major works can be undertaken. Some minor work line marking changes have been made to better delineate and position the holding lines for vehicles waiting to enter the highway were installed this last line marking season, that was in 2015, but this has not resolved the safety issues. Council and the 4 primary school parents are particularly concerned for the safety of the children on the school bus at this intersection. And a copy of this paper is available for your information if you require it. As the information provided above will also be recorded in next month's minutes. Also, another letter was sent to then former Minister Reen Hidding, MP, on the 21st of September 2016, stating, I refer to previous correspondence to you in relation to safety concerns at the junctions of Bass Highway Leith. Since that letter, we have experienced at least another 2 serious accidents at the intersections. As advised previously, the community is concerned about both intersections leading onto the Bass Highway and urges the state government to seriously consider using black spot funding to rationalise the 2 intersections with a single overpass and related infrastructure. The last accident happened on Sunday the 4th of September after 2 cars collided. The crash happened on the eastbound lanes of the highway at the Leith turnoff. Tasmania Police were on the scene and there were delays through the crash area as one lane of the highway was blocked. Can you please advise what consideration the state government has given to this black spot area and where it is included in the state government's program? Also, a letter on the 26th of February 2016 to the CEO of Infrastructure Tasmania in response to a letter seeking submission to be included in the infrastructure pipeline. One of the projects submitted was the Bass Highway Leaf intersection. So there's an email from Peter Cosmetto of 24 Allport Street, Leeds. It would be appreciated if you could support any motion put forward to put a temporary halt on the Leaf Overpass project so other options can be considered. Have a think how you would feel if you received a letter in the mail out of nowhere saying your house was being compulsorily acquired and being demolished. A lifetime's work gone. Pretty devastating when a change in design would stop the unnecessary destruction of these properties. The large footprint of this proposed overpass looks more suited to a B-double truck route than looking after the safety concerns of the Leaf residents. Has the council had any meetings or conversations with any local fresh vegetable producers or truck companies in relation to the proposed overpass? So our response is that the council has not had any meetings or conversations with perceived interested parties. This will be a question for the Department of State Growth. And the last email from Susan Hutchison of Leith, and said, sorry to be just passed through, but wondered if anybody has suggested a trial run of a speed limit set to 80 kilometres for a start. And the response is that the council will pass on your request to the Department of State Growth. Now, the last email I have is to do with dogs, and it's an email received from Jane Mackerel of 47 Mission Hill Road, Penguin. Given the many concerning issues arising from the newly implemented dog exercise areas, including lack of bags and disposal, snakes and access for elderly and disabled dog owners to Watkin Beach during winter, and currently due to foreshore works, my questions relate to the possibility of council reconsidering the current policy, the restricted area, the dogs being on lead at all times on Johnson's Beach and Penguin Beach. So her two questions are, number one, will council allow dog owners to revert to the previous policy of allowing dogs off lead on Johnson's Beach and Penguin Beach during Australian Eastern Standard Time and off lead during Australian Eastern Daylight times, which is after 7 p.m. and prior to 9 a.m. December, January, February? That's the first question. The second question is, will council reconsider the policy of dogs being on lead at all times in restricted areas on Johnson's Beach and Penguin Beach if, as with the Buttons Creek and Turners Beach, Penguin dog owners produce a reasonable, proper and fair grounds for off-lead activities, providing a safe space for all? So the council's response to that is that the council will be reviewing the Dog Management Policy 2020 at a councillor workshop in May 2021, at which these questions will be further raised and discussed. A response will then be provided at the conclusion of the review process.
Thank you, Sandra.
Very
Well
good.
done.
Well done.
Half an hour of public question time. So you've answered those well. Thank you. Have a quick drink because you also now have a question from Councillor Fuller that I had omitted to ask at the numbers one. Sorry, I'll try and make it brief for you.
just in relation to the Ulverston or the East Ulverston swimming pool. I wonder if we had received any correspondence from the Department of Education in relation to upgrades or works that might be required at the swimming pool in the immediate future, and how that might impact on council's budget processes. Please.
I can answer that one really short. The answer is no, we have not received anything from them.
Thank you.
Right, thank you. We'll move on to 10:11 infrastructure services determinations. This is scheduled there. Can I have somebody move that be received? Thanks, Councillor Viney, second Councillor Hiscott. Any queries on those determinations? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.12 is the tenders for the Ulverston Skate Park redevelopment. Can I have somebody move the suggested resolution? Thanks, Councillor Fuller. Seconder, please. Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Fuller. Sounds like you're very keen to speak.
Despite not being a keen skateboarder, Mayor, and I've missed my opportunity to be a keen cyclist earlier this evening, but I do know that it is a little tired, and that the users have been asking for quite some time for it to have some attention. And of course, there are different activities that young people or some older people do in that type of environment now than when it was first designed and built. Staff have obviously done a great job in recommending a tender which is conforming and that will help us meet our objectives, and with the use of some external federal government support, for which we're very appreciative. It looks like that we can update it in a time frame that will allow for the appropriate pouring of concrete, because we wouldn't want it to be wasted when it was poured at the wrong time. So no, I'm very excited to see that coming to fruition and progressing, and I would commend the decision to my fellow councillors.
Councillor Viney.
Yes, I'm pleased to support the motion. It's a project that's been a long time coming. As Councillor Fuller said, the track, although I haven't used it at all, perhaps Councillor Fuller may have done, but it certainly is very old and tired and needs thing. And I'd also like to say that it's pleasing to see that it's actually coming under budget. Magnificent.
Thank you. Councillor Hiscott.
Being probably, we'll assume the closest in age to the median users, I'd just like to comment that it's good to see, I presume, there's no studies done on this, but good to see that. It's a little concerning that the trend that we seem to continually see across our designs, that we give a design to a design company of a budget of X, and continually the first assumptions that they come back with are always nearly twice X. I don't know how we get around that problem, but it's just a continual, not specific to this project, but we've seen that time and time again. It's good that the way that this one has been produced and how it's come about, that the end result has come under budget. I hope not too much has been lost in the exclusion of the secondary options. But no, I'm very much looking forward to what is produced, and yeah, no, exciting to see it finally progressing, because it has been a little while, and how well it should conform with the pump track next door to it as well. And that will make a very stunning precinct for the youth and all users, as it would be if Councillor Fuller decides to get on the skateboard.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Councillor Beasley.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'll be supporting the motion this evening. I'm excited about this, but not to use it, but I'm excited for the local users. Probably break a leg, unlike Councillor Hiscott. I'll look forward to seeing him go down the skate park once it's finished. But as Councillor Hiscott has said, it's going to be a great precinct for the younger and perhaps not so younger that like to use these facilities, and it is tired and needs doing up. So again, look forward to seeing up and going and some action happening.
Any other speakers? Councillor Fuller, would you like to close?
No, I think the high levels of excitement around the table have been expressed. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion's carried. Now on to 10.13, which is the opening of the various streets, and in this case, the opening of Tower Place, West Alveston. Can I have somebody move the resolution, please?
So move, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Beswick. Second of Councillor Viney. Councillor Beswick, would you like to speak to this?
Not much to say really, Mayor. It's good to see another little area getting opened up. It's obviously the first stage of more blocks in there. There's definitely some demand out there for land, so it's good that another section is getting opened up.
Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. And again, 10.14, various street roads, the certificate of completion again for Tower Place. Can I have somebody move? Thanks, Councillor Hiscock. Second of please, Councillor Beswick. Councillor Hiscock. Thank you. Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.15 is statutory determinations. There's a schedule there. Can I have somebody move that be received, please?
So move, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Carpenter. Second, please. Councillor Beswick. Councillor Carpenter.
No, Mayor, it continues along. It's self-informing when you read the report. It just seems to grow and grow and grow, even though the planning department, we've had a quiet month as far as sitting around the table, but things are still happening.
Any other speakers? I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.16 is the financial statements. Can I have somebody move that be received, please?
So moved, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Van Ryan. Second, please.
Second, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Carpenter. Councillor Van Ryan, would you like to speak to this?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Any other speakers?
No, Mayor.
Councillor Carpenter.
No.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. 10.17 is the dog control fixing registration fees for 2021, 2022 financial year and other fees under the Dog Control Act. I have somebody move the suggested resolution.
So moved, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Van Ryan. Seconded, Councillor Fuller. Councillor Van Ryan. Would you
Well,
like to speak?
that's fairly self-explanatory, Mayor. Just a little question to the GM, if I may. Do we still have an active program going on in the municipality to catch the owners of unregistered dogs?
We've actually got a program over the last couple of months of doing that, yes.
Thank you.
Any other speakers?
Thank you, Mayor. As the report indicates there, it's a fee increase, and it is slightly higher than CPI. Has an average of around about 5% across perhaps some of the main fees that would influence dog owners, but it does allow us to sufficiently recoup about 80% of the cost that council incurs. It is in keeping with what we have advised staff are our priorities as far as after-hours service and the level of fees that should be paid should you be in the situation where your dog has escaped and has to be impounded out of hours, and in line with some user pays reflections there. I'm particularly happy, it's not the first year obviously, but I'm particularly happy that we've maintained the metal disc registration tags in replacement to replace those plastic ones, and I'm intimately familiar with the work of our animal control officers. I would have to say as a side comment that since the introduction of the new policy and the extra resources that we have put into the management and compliance, certainly the complaints to me or that I'm aware of have decreased. So I congratulate the staff on their work to date, and obviously the fee increase needs to allow us to continue that good work.
Any other speakers?
Yes, Mayor, I'll be supporting the new fees and charges. I listened with interest one of the questions on notice, well, not question, the public question time, where the question was about having poo disposal bags out for everybody. I see that as a dog owner as a responsibility to have your own. I don't see that the council, that is their responsibility to be supplying dog bags for your dog. To me, it's an emergency thing, and for people to expect it, that's where in the end the cost to our community, especially to people that haven't got dogs, that's an impost. So I would encourage people to, they are readily available at the supermarkets, just like you buy your dog food, you buy your dog disposal bags. I would encourage all responsible dog owners to do that. And it's the same thing, and I'm often getting chastised, why isn't our dog catcher catching people that not picking up their dog poop? As I say to them, you can only catch them when you actually physically see them do it. It's a bit like speeding. The policeman can't catch you if he doesn't got a speed gun in front of you. So again, just at the time when we're talking about dogs, encourage dog owners to be responsible, because in the end it affects everybody in the community.
Any other speakers? Councillor.
Just a small one, so reflecting what's already been spoken about by Councillor Fuller, but just to see that continued inclusion of the public holiday release fee, so that we've had circumstances in the past, and it's good to see that continued. I mean that to the council, but I'll be supporting the motion.
Any other speakers? Councillor Fuller, do you wish to close?
No, thank you, Mayor.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Motion is carried. Which brings us to the closure of the meeting to the public.